Hi, it's Dorothy Guinan with Scrapbooking Quebec. In this video, I'm going to show you what I do with my monthly kits at the end of each month. How I tidy up, what I keep, what I throw away. I put together a scrappy kit at the beginning of each month, and it usually includes products from 6 to 10 collections. And it's the material I play with for a month. I will link up a few kit share videos below in case you're curious. This is what my kit looks like at the beginning of the month. It's all neat and tidy. It's on the top tier of this cart that's just behind my scrap table. And the collections within the kit are stored in their own separate bags. I am a collection scrapbooker, and even though my kits include several different collections, I still like to keep my collections separated. I also have a communal bin there. That's what you see in front. That's where I keep my alphas, titles, enamel dots, and anything bulky. Now at the end of the month, this is what my kit looks like, which is not too bad. My system keeps me organized, but it needs to be cleaned up before it goes back to my stash. So let me show you what I do. And the kit I'm working with is the January 2023 kit. So I have a lot of it here, but not all of it, but I will be able to give you a good idea of how I tidy up. So you can see I still have all of these collections. They are still all in their bags. I also have my communal bin right there to the right. In that are my alphas, titles, enamel dots, and anything bulky. I also have a recycling bin on my desk because I will be throwing out some small scraps. And I have a variety of sizes of bags here. So I have these 6 by 12 bags. They might be a bit bigger than that. Those are great for stickers, thicker, stuff like that. I have these giant baggies. Those are in case I have to replace the plastic packaging on my collections. And I have some smaller baggies. Those are good for ephemera pieces and stuff like that. So what I'm going to do right now is put everything to the side, and I'm just going to work on one collection. And this is how I do it. I work on one collection at a time and I tidy them up. So this is Simple Stories Mix and a Mingle collection. I played with this collection in December and in January. What I want to do with this is put it away for many months, either next November or maybe in July, who knows. But I know I don't want to play with it in February. And I still have a fair amount of it left. So I can keep it as a collection. I am going to keep the cover sheet because that gives me a lot of information, the different patterns that I have, the stickers that are there, all of that. The first thing I'm going to do is tidy up the paper. So what I want to do is basically separate all of the 12 by 12 full sheets. So I'm going through that and I'm going to pull out the scraps and put those in a separate pile. And within the scraps, I separate them as well. The big chunks go in one, the narrow 12-inch border strips go in another, and another category will be the tiny strips. The only exception I make to this is this green plaid paper, for example. I am going to keep that chunk in the 12 by 12 section because I have a full 12 by 12 sheet of it as well. I showed you there, that was a piece of red cardstock. When I create these kits at the beginning of the month, I usually incorporate some coordinating cardstock so I know to use it. At the end of the month, when I tidy these collections up, I remove any cardstock that's still in the collection. What I want to do here is just have the collection components in the bag, nothing else. So that's the same thing for that mint cardstock as well. That's going to go back with my cardstock stash. So I have my 12 by 12 papers, I have my 12 by 12 sticker sheet and the cover sheet. Now what I'm going to do is work on the scraps. So the big chunks are very, very usable. They're all going to be saved for sure. I also save any 12-inch strips of paper, even if they're 1 inch wide, because I work a lot by creating borders. So those are very, very useful. And sometimes just a little narrow border goes a long way. Where I start getting a little bit more tough is with the smaller scraps, and you see me creating a pile right there. What I'm looking for in these smaller scraps are anything that can be used as a photo mat, for example. So I'm kind of hesitating over those red ones, but I do save them. But the smaller scraps I throw out or I put in the recycling bin. Now I know some people are amazing with scraps and they save all of them, but for me, what I want to do with this collection is store it so that I will use it probably next year. And my goal when I'm tidying this up, which doesn't take me long, I am doing this in real time, by the way, I want to store it so that it looks neat, almost new, so that it's motivating for me to use in the future. And if I have a bunch of scraps floating around the bag, I'm not going to be motivated. It's just going to look like a big bag of scraps to me. That's just me. So you can see I have gotten rid of the smaller scraps. I am putting the bigger ones together, and what I will do is store them in a folded over piece of paper. So I still have a bunch of scraps. I just got rid of the smaller ones and it's all neat and tidy. So that's going to be stored with my 12 by 12 papers along with the sticker sheet and the cover sheet. Now what I want to do is go through the embellishments. So already my chipboard pieces are on this in this little baggie, so that's good. I'm going to save it as is. This is one of these self-adhesive brads there. I've got two in there. One belongs to this Mix and Mingle collection. The other one is to a past Simple Stories collection, but there are similar colors. The packaging, the plastic packaging was completely ripped, so I got rid of that. I'm just kind of tidying up that the pieces a little bit. Some were adhered on top of the other, so that's no good. And what I am going to do is put this in one of those 6 by 12 baggies that I mentioned. These I bought at one point on Amazon. They're not very sturdy, but honestly, I have a lifetime supply and they do work. I do store material in them and they do last for a while. So in this case, it's certainly better than the packaging that was ripped that I had before. Now this is an ephemera pack and the packaging is fine, so I'm going to leave it as is. However, if it were falling apart, I would have put it in one of these smaller Ziploc baggies, and I get those at the dollar store. You're going to see I have another one of those small baggies. In this one, it was already that way in my package for this month, are cut apart sheets and tags, stuff like that. That looks in good shape. That's going to go back with my kit, or collection I should say. And now I'm showing you another little baggie. In this one were some stamped and die cut pieces that I saved from a project I did in January. It coordinates with the kit. I'm just going to leave it in the baggie. And all of this is going to go in its own baggie. So it's only the Mix and a Mingle collection. The scraps are all tidied up. You can see I have my scraps there in a folded over piece of paper. In a minute, you're going to see I remove them. Typically, I store them at the back of the collection. That's just what I do. I've got all of my 12 by 12 pieces, and the only smaller pieces that go in that chunk are the ones that happen to match a 12 by 12 piece. If I have two identical papers, I keep them side by side, and I will tuck this in a fresh baggie. Now, I do that because I want this to look motivating and inspiring the next time I go to it. And it's in a nice clean baggie. Again, these ones I got at Amazon. Once again, a lifetime supply. They're not the thickest baggies, but it certainly does the trick. It holds everything there. This is nice, neat, and clean. So the next time I go to grab it, it's not a bag of mixed up scraps. It all makes sense to me. And the fact that it's neat and tidy, for me, just the way I scrapbook, it's more motivating and inspiring to use. So this collection is going back in my stash. Now, the next collection, which I will show you in a minute, is going to be carried forward into my February kit. So that is another category when I'm cleaning up my monthly kits. So the next collection I'm getting right now is Vicki Boutin's Print Shop collection, and you're going to see I already tidied it up. I did the very same thing that I did with the Simple Stories collection. It's all tidied up. It's in a baggie. I'm showing you there I have that backgrounds paper pad that I bought. I used a bit of it in January, but I still have tons of it left. I'm showing you the back of that envelope there. That's where all of my embellishments are. You can see I have my scraps all tidied up. For this one, because it's being carried forward 1 month, I saved a lot more of the smaller scraps. In the previous collection, I got rid of the smaller scraps because it was going to be saved for a year. This one I'm going to be working with in February, but it's all nice and neat. So that's ready to go for my February kit. Now I'm showing you another category of collection at the end of the month. This is the Creative Memories Winter Days collection, and basically I used all the paper from this collection, but I have some of the embellishments left, and I love the embellishments. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with it. Now this packaging is beat up, but I'm still going to keep it. What I do with the beat up packaging is I often use them to organize myself with page kits for the month, if I'm selecting paper to photos, stuff like that. I am showing you the cover sheet to this Winter Days collection. I am actually going to keep that. That is photo safe, number one. I tested it. And what I save those for is when I create a page that's completely covered up with pattern paper, I will use something like that to cover up. Also, you saw there was a scrap of vellum there. I save all my vellum because I often use it in bits and pieces. Now this is where it gets a bit wonky. I've got 2 scraps of paper that are fairly large, but Creative Memories paper is really, really flimsy. So I'm going to get rid of it. Those flimsy scraps don't store well. The only exception is this one here because the flip side there is like a lined paper, and I do a lot of journaling. So I'm going to put that in with my lined paper. Now what I do have left from this collection are the embellishments, and I absolutely love them. This collection came with 3 6x12 sticker sheets, and yes, I did use a lot of them, but not nearly all of them, and I want to keep them. I also have some laser cut border strips. You'll see that in a minute as well. When I finish a collection, and in this case, for example, I have no paper, but I have embellishments. What I do, if I like the embellishments, is I look for another collection to put them with, because I want to use them, of course, and I have no paper from that particular collection. And it often happens for me because I don't over embellish my pages. I usually use up my paper for my embellishments. Now, if I don't find a collection to put these embellishments with, then I will put them with my stash. I do not have a lot of stash with embellishments, but I do have a bit, so that's where I would put it if I love these embellishments and didn't have a collection to put them with. What I'm going to do is put them with this collection, the Magic of Winter it's called. It's actually part of my February kit, and I'm just kind of spanning out the colors here to give you an idea. These go perfectly well with this collection, with the blues, with the browns, and I am thrilled. They are all, of course, winter themed, so that works very, very well. I'm going to show you once again these laser cut border strips because I absolutely fell in love with them. These are beautiful, and these, contrary to the Creative Memories paper, were very thick and sturdy. So I really hope to use those, and that's why I'm thrilled to find a collection that they will coordinate with. So anyway, what I'm going to do with these border strips and the stickers is tuck them all away with this Magic of Winter collection, and this collection happens to be in my kit for the month of February 2023. So there I go, tucking it all away. And after this, I'm going to show you another category of collections that rarely happens to me, but it does happen. And that is going to be a collection that I put in my kit during a month, for a month, that doesn't get touched at all. And for me, in January, it was the Kaleidoscope collection from the Hip Kit Club from January 2022. I put it in my kit. It's all there. I have the main kit along with an additional paper pack and all of the embellishments, but I didn't touch it at all throughout the entire month. So what I'm going to do with this collection is I am just simply going to change the packaging. That clear plastic envelope is pretty beat up. I won't get rid of it. That will go in my stash. I'll use it for page kits and stuff like that. But this material, I'm going to repackage it in one of those brand new baggies, and I am going to put this in a special place in my stash. In my stash, I have a 13 by 13 box where I keep my stash collections. Those are collections that I've used, they're picked through. That's where that collection, the Mix and a Mingle collection, will go. This one goes in another 13 by 13 bin, and that bin is for products, for collections that I haven't used yet. They are untouched. That's why I want this to look pristine, because the next time I go looking for new material, so to speak, I'm going to go to that bin and I'm going to find myself something that's been untouched. That's why I don't want the baggie to be all beat up. It's just more motivating for me to see it all clean and tidy. Now what I'm going to do is go through my communal bin, and in that bin, that is where I keep alphas, titles, enamel dots, because I think even though some of them belong to specific collections, I like to keep them together throughout the month because I find those items can mix and match with different collections. So at the end of the month, I do have to go through that and kind of put them away. In that pink box, that is part of the print shop collection. It's a papery pack, so I put that with the Vicki Boutin print shop collection. That's going to go for February. You saw me place some twine there up in the top right. That's my put back in my stash pile. Now I'm going through the enamel dots. Again, most of these are just going to go back in my stash, but what I'm pulling out here is one of them that belongs to the Mix and the Mingle collection, and there's a fair amount of those left. And I have a fair amount of that Mix and a Mingle collection, so I'm going to slip those in with that collection, but all of the other enamel dots are going to go in my stash, which are housed in 3 of those mini iris containers, like that pink one you see on my table. Now what I'm going to do is just go through this handful of alphas and titles. So those titles are part of the print shop collection. That's going to go with that. That there is part of it's part of Evergreen and Holly collection from Vicki Boutin. That was in my kit in January too, but I almost used the entire kit, so that's going to go in my stash. These are going to go in my stash as well, these gold alphas. They're pretty picked through, as well as these silver sparkly alphas. However, every year at Christmas, I've been buying these, or for the last few years anyway. So these collections have been around for a while. I am going to hang on to them, even though I'm missing quite a few letters in some of them. It's because next year I may purchase them again. The black ones, there's lots of alphas there, so I'm going to keep those. These ones here were part of that kaleidoscope collection from the Hip Kit Club. So that's going to go back in with that collection, which is going to go in the part of my stash that is new products. So one day I'll go shopping, so to speak, and I'll pick it out, hopefully, to use. This is a collection that's pretty picked through. So what I'm doing here is just looking at what I have left for letters. Typically I look for vowels. I look for M, N, R, T, S, and if I have those letters, I usually keep it. This one here is part of Vicki Boutin's print shop collection, so I'll use that in February. Another one of these ones that I'm just checking the letters, that one ends up passing the test. And the next one, you're going to see the red one. I can look at it right off the bat. It's full of letters, so I keep that back in my stash. I find another one of these gold sparkly ones. It's identical, so I am going to keep it even though there's almost nothing left on it. Again, I may use those letters next year. What I'm noticing here is the packaging is pretty beat up. So I'm going to get rid of the packaging, and I'm going to go get one of those 6 by 12 envelopes, or they're a bit bigger, and I'm going to repackage it. I just find when the packaging is falling apart, it really messes up my stash because the adhesive on the bags that's broken ends up sticking to other ones and ripping them. Anyway, when I find them ripped, I will repackage them. Even though those bags are not very tough, they do last for a while, and it just keeps them nice, neat, and tidy. Now I have one more alpha set there. Actually, I'm just putting those gold ones with the other gold ones. When I store my alphas in my stash, I do keep them in color code or whatever. I keep all the golds together, all the reds together, stuff like that. Those blue ones there, I'm just checking for the letters and they pass my test, so I'm going to put that there. And just a fun fact, for the month, I use that little bin there to keep my alphas and other stuff for the month. The alphas that I have in my stash that are not part of my monthly kit fit in one of those very same bins. They are just stored in a different part in my office. So now I'm just kind of putting the stuff to the side that has to go back in my stash, and now I'm continuing with my communal bin. What I'm showing you there are some like peekaboo pages from Creative Memories and from Simple Stories. I'm not sure what they call them. I just kind of put them in there every month in case I use them. Also in that communal bin were the tools I selected for January. So this one here, this cat's die set from Tim Holtz, which was a gift from Cindy. Thank you very much, Cindy. I used that quite a bit in January, so I can put that tool back in my stash. This stamp and die set from Elizabeth Craft Designs, I didn't use it even though it was in my kit. So that's going to go in a category in my scrap room of tools that I haven't used yet, because I do like to use my tools before I put them in my stash, because that way I remember what tools I have. If I buy something brand new and just tuck it away, I forget about it. So that's my trick for remembering what tools I have. I hope I was able to give you an idea of how to tidy up at the end of each month, or how I tidy up at the end of each month. Some of the collections I tidy and I put back in my stash, like I did with the Simple Stories. I make it all neat and clean and I put it back in my stash. Others I tidy up and then I carry over into the next month. Some of the collections I complete, and with the few leftovers, what I do is either I get rid of the scraps like I did with that Winter Days collection from Creative Memories, but if I have something left that I really love, like those embellishments, I try to find another collection to put it with, and if that doesn't work, it goes in my stash. And on occasion, I end up not touching a collection at all during a month, and that will return to my bin of new material for another day when I want to go shopping with material that's already in my home. So as always, if you enjoyed this video, I'd greatly appreciate a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I would love it if you did. And thank you to all of you who are subscribers. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you soon on YouTube. Bye-bye.